Hi, in this video, I will share detailed information about the DTV visa in Thailand, what requirements you need to fulfill, how and where to apply, how to enter and exit the country, as well as some additional nuances. Everything that will be discussed is based on my personal experience, as well as on the experience of different people from thematic chats on Facebook and Telegram. Keep in mind that the information is current as of May 2025. So let's understand what this visa is. Destination Thailand Visa, DTV, is a visa that allows you to stay in Thailand and engage in remote work, business, or other activities. It is important to understand that it is not allowed to work for a Thai company with this visa. Another visa will be required for this type of employment. In fact, the status of a DTV visa holder is something between a tourist and a resident. You can read more about it in the article at the link in the description, in Thai. The visa is valid for 5 years from the date of issuance, and your passport must also be valid for at least 5 years. During those 5 years, you can enter and exit Thailand an unlimited number of times. Each entry gives you a stamp for 180 days. When this period comes to an end, you can either extend your stay for another 180 days at the immigration office where you live, or simply leave the country and come back again. According to current information, in-country extensions are only possible once per trip. I will talk about this and other nuances later. So, this visa can suit many people and for many different purposes. For example, if you plan to winterize, you can safely stay in the country without having to do frequent border runs or worry about short-term tourist stamps. Or, if you want to stay in Thailand for a year, you can do so using one of 2 extension options. And if you have plans for a longer stay, but can't get another visa just yet, the DTV gives you the option to stay legally in the country long enough to resolve this issue in time. The DTV visa is available for 3 categories of applicants. There are general requirements that are mandatory for all, as well as additional conditions depending on the chosen category. Let's start with the general requirements. First, passport with biometrics. It is mandatory to have a biometric passport. That is, an old-style passport without a built-in chip with a photo of the owner will not work. Second, photo. A fresh photo is required, taken not earlier than 6 months before the application. It will be used directly for the visa. Third, documents confirming the current location. This can be a rental agreement, utility bills, internet, and other official papers that show your name and residential address. This is needed to confirm that you are indeed in the country of submission. However, you cannot be in Thailand at the time of filing. You can only file outside the country. The general rules do not require citizenship or residency in the country of filing, but there are nuances, which I will tell you about later. Fourth, proof of financial solvency. At least 500,000 Thai baht is required for filing. The amount must be converted into your country's currency at the official exchange rate. The easiest way to show that you have these funds is to provide bank statements. Statements from different accounts, such as savings and deposits, are acceptable. The main thing is that they must be bank accounts, except for credit accounts. Funds in brokerage or investment accounts will not be credited, as this is not live money that can be freely used. Ideally, statements should cover the last 6 months and show the movement of funds. There should be the right amount in the accounts at the end of the statement period. In my case, statements with electronic signatures ordered through online banking were accepted. There is an alternative method, a sponsorship letter, but it is much more complicated. This is a letter from a natural or legal person who confirms that they are willing to support you financially. You also need to attach documents confirming that the sponsor has the required amount. There is no universal template, but examples can be found on the internet. In practice, this option often causes additional inquiries and checks. Now, additional requirements by category. First, For digital nomads, remote workers, freelancers, etc., you will need an employment contract or similar document proving that you work permanently or freelance remotely. Theoretically, you can submit just a portfolio or CV, but this can raise questions and checks. In my case, I submitted an employment contract as well as a letter on the official letterhead of the company which confirmed my position, salary, and the possibility of remote work. Examples of such letters can be found on the internet. Second, for participants in activities related to the so-called soft power of Thailand, these can be any documents that prove your participation: contracts, statements, certificates, letters, etc. The more the better. Soft power, in the context of a visa, means, for example, Muay Thai, Thai cooking instruction, medical treatment, etc. There is very little information on this category, and there are few cases of visa approvals. For example, Muay Thai requires a licensed center, and then the process will be similar to an educational visa. The school will help with the application. If you choose this category, you will have to search for the bulk of the information yourself, and there may be differences in the next steps. Third, for spouses and children under 20 years of age of the DTV visa holder. In this case, you need to provide documents confirming the family ties, marriage, birth, adoption certificate, etc., and a copy of the main applicant's DTV visa. There is one interesting point related to financial requirements in this category. I will tell you about it later. On a separate note, all documents must be submitted in English or Thai. For example, for the contract I ordered a certified translation, and the marriage certificate was translated through the embassy of the issuing country. As mentioned above, you can only apply for a DTV visa when you are outside of Thailand. That is, you must not be physically inside the country at the time of starting the application. This is important. Failure to do so may result in your visa being denied or revoked even after you receive it. There are currently two ways to apply: offline through the Thai embassy in your country of residence and online through the e-visa system website. I recommend the second way, through the website. Firstly, there are more cases and verified information on it. Secondly, the application process itself is quite clear and regulated there. In the case of filing through an embassy, there are often non-standard and complex requirements, and they may differ significantly from country to country. For example, in one case, the applicant was required to provide passport details of all the people whose signatures were on the documents submitted as part of the application, which is obviously almost impossible to fulfill. Online submission is available for citizens of a large number of countries and from many countries, with few exceptions. This can be easily checked. On the website, you select the country of application and the type of visa. The system will immediately show whether online submission is possible or not, but filing through embassies is more often limited and requires additional clarification in each case. The link to the official website of the electronic visa system will be in the description. There you can also find details on the different types of visas, including DTV. On the website, you will need to create an account, fill out the application form, upload all the required documents, and pay for the application. The visa application fee is 10,000 Thai baht, but Pomona is made in US dollars at the current exchange rate. Please note, if you are rejected and decide to reapply, you will have to pay again. Reapplying is not free. At the beginning of filling out the application, you must choose the Thai embassy that will process it. Even though the submission goes through the website, each application is still sent to the appropriate embassy. However, in this case, it is done according to the criteria and conditions of the online system, which are the same for all countries. The choice of embassy depends on your current residence address. If there are several embassies in your country, it is important to choose the one assigned to your address. Officially, the application processing time can be up to 30 business days, but in practice it varies greatly. For example, I had my visa approved the very next day, while one friend waited almost 2 weeks. As soon as the visa is approved, you will receive it electronically to the email specified during registration. If there will be a request for additional documents, or the visa will be denied, You will also receive a notification in the mail. The explanation of the refusal is not always clear. I know a case when it was refused because of an error in the passport number, which in fact was not. The visa is an electronic document of A4 format, with your photo and all your data. This visa must be printed out and carried with you when you enter Thailand. I also recommend that you check all the data on the visa carefully so that there are no mistakes. In addition, keep the visa email itself. You may be asked to show it. If the printout gets lost or corrupted, it's no big deal. You can print the file again at any time. Once you receive your visa, you can enter Thailand literally the same day. It starts to be valid from the date of issue, from the moment you receive the email. When you enter, it is important to present the visa printout at passport control so that you get the correct stamp. There have been cases where people have been mistakenly stamped with a tourist stamp despite having a DTV visa. I recommend that the first entry to Thailand on a DTV visa be made by airplane. This reduces the likelihood of misunderstandings. There have been cases where border guards did not immediately understand the type of visa when crossing the land border. Also remember that at the time of your entry into the country, there may be additional general requirements not related to the type of visa. For example, sanitary measures, declarations, etc. It's best to check the current regulations in advance. When leaving Thailand, however, you do not need to do anything special. Your DTV visa remains valid and there are no additional procedures associated with it. It is important to note that if you are staying in Thailand continuously with a DTV visa, you must notify immigration every 90 days. This is called filing a TM.47 form. This is done at the immigration office in your place of residence. You must have a valid TM30 registration to file a TM.47. You must be registered by the owner of the accommodation you are staying in. If you are staying in a hotel, the registration is done automatically and you will not be given the documents. However, if you are renting on your own, it is worth reminding your landlord about the TM30. If you move, the registration must be done again. The most important thing is that the data from the TM30 must match the information about you in the immigration database at the time of filing the TM47. Otherwise, you may encounter difficulties. The deadlines and conditions may vary from province to province, so you will need to check this information locally. If you leave Thailand, even for a short period of time, such as a border run, your 90-day count and registration will be reset. When you return, you will have to request TM30 and count the 90 days again. If you have already lived in Thailand on a DTV visa for 180 days and want to extend this period, you should be prepared for certain difficulties. At the moment, there are no uniform standards for such an extension. Each immigration office operates in its own way. Some provinces ask you to collect almost all the same package of documents that you originally submitted for the visa, only in the current form. Some may ask for additional documents, such as homeowners' information or bank statements strictly from Thai banks. There were cases when instead of the expected extension for 180 days, they stamped only for 2 weeks and asked to come to the office again. The fate of such cases often remains unknown, as few people share the results. Renewal through immigration costs 1,900 baht. Therefore, in practice, the most reliable way to extend your stay is to leave Thailand for a few days and come back. Important, we are talking about departure, not land border. If you have a complicated visa history or any concerns, you can use an agency's accelerated passport control service. They claim to offer certain guarantees, but I have not used it myself. It is better not to leave for just 1 or 2 days, so that it does not look like an obvious visa run. In my case, everything went without problems. After my first stay in Thailand for about 170 days, I left for 6 days, and on my return, I got a stamp for 180 days again. But How it will be in the future is still unknown. I will keep an eye on the situation in the topic chats. Whether you apply online or through an embassy, some countries require you to have citizenship, residency, or some kind of long-term visa to apply from there. If you are applying from your country of citizenship, and that country is the right one to apply from, there will be no such problems. However, if you plan to apply from a third country, it is important to check in advance for additional requirements. This information is usually available on the website of the Thai embassy in the respective country. At the moment, the most convenient countries for filing are Vietnam, Indonesia, and Malaysia. They have online submission available and generally do not have additional requirements for people who are not citizens of these countries. However, it is worth bearing in mind that these conditions are subject to change. When applying for a dependent on a principal applicant who already has a DTV visa, there is a point not fully defined regarding the amount of financial support. When I applied, I specified a total amount of 500,000 Thai baht for myself and my wife. I applied for myself first, providing the necessary financial documents, and then, after receiving my visa, I applied for my wife. In her case, I used the same financial documents I used for myself, adding a marriage certificate and a free-form letter in which I committed to supporting her financially. This was sufficient for approval. However, there were cases where they required to show 500,000 baht for each applicant, which is a total of 1 million baht for a family of 2. This was justified by the fact that allegedly, the visa description for each category of applicants has a different financial support requirement, and therefore, it is impossible to use one amount for 2 people. Nevertheless, such cases are rare, and there is no precise information about the development of such situations. There is no clear indication in the visa description whether it is allowed or prohibited to use the same amount for 2 people, so it may depend on the embassy. In my opinion, the DTV visa is a great option for those who want to legally reside in Thailand for an extended period of time beyond the tourist stamps. Plus, there are rumors that their terms may be shortened. The DTV visa also waives the need for frequent border runs and also allows you to work remotely for a company in another country if your job allows it. However, with the growing popularity of the DTV visa, there is a possibility that the requirements for obtaining it may become stricter and the process is more complicated. So, if you are a digital nomad and want to live in Thailand, it may be worth hurrying up with your application. If you found this video helpful, please support it with a like. As a beginner influencer, I would really appreciate it. If you have anything to add or still have questions, feel free to leave a comment. I'll do my best to answer them. If the video gets a good reaction, I can make a video where I will show you how to fill out an online application for a DTV visa with samples of required documents. See you.